Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I have to give all the praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ruka Kadash. I like to say double honors and respect to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and taught us His truth. I would also like to say much love, peace, and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful light in the 1/3, and you Israelite foreigners, you speckled birds scattered across the four corners of the earth, scattered amongst the heathen that may look like the heathen, but your seed line / sperm line go back under Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who the covenants, blessings, and salvations is only meant for. All right, only the elect of you, the remnant. You know, as the scriptures say, we are going to be able to understand this. This is your brother Salah. All right, and today and in today's lesson, we're gonna be opening it. Yeah, we're gonna open up with the book of. Yeah, we're gonna open with the book of Luke, chapter 21, and we're gonna start at verse 10. You know, things to come. Then he said unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines, and pestilence, and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven, right? And you know, and the main point I want to focus on is you see all these things going down across the world, man. You know, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. He's definitely starting to visit this place, right? We are in the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble, right? Right, if your brothers watched the previous video, right, Babylon the Great, America is telling its citizens to leave Iran, right, because why? They're getting ready for for that third world war, man, that nation against nation, right. But the main point I want to focus on, right, are these plagues, man, these pestilence, right, and the Lord is sending out a bunch of plagues and pestilence, to plague. To play these damn devils, right, and of course 2/3 of our own people, and the rest of these heathens, right, So before I play any of these videos, right, we're gonna get the copyright disclaimer. All right, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All right, so with that out of the way, we're going to be playing the first video.
He took a vacation to paradise and ended up fighting for his life. 62-year-old Brian Roush went to the Bahamas with his girlfriend when he tripped on a sidewalk and scraped his ankle. Brian's daughter, Brittany.
We're talking like a tiny little cut.
Roush continued with his vacation, thinking nothing about the cut. He even swam with pigs, a popular attraction on the islands that draws thousands of tourists each year. They were even featured on The Bachelor.
Oh my God!
As piglets in the water, they're cute, but when they're all grown up, they can be aggressive. Swimming with the pigs, is that something your dad really wanted to do?
Yeah, my dad loves pigs, and so this was something he was really excited about.
When the vacation was over, Brian Roush was on the ferry returning to Fort Lauderdale when he suddenly got violently sick. Within a matter of hours, he was on life support in the hospital, diagnosed with flesh-eating bacteria.
The first night, they didn't think he was going to make it.
Brittany tells me the surgeons had to remove large chunks of her father's leg.
His ankle literally erupted in blisters in front of the doctor.
Brittany says he's struggling back to health.
We got the good news that his kidneys have started to come back online, so he's showing signs of recovery there. He's still pretty weak, but he's getting better every day.
She also tells me no one can say if swimming with the pigs directly led to the flesh-eating bacteria. Her advice?
Don't go in the water when you have an open wound.
In 2023, a 32-year-old man in Seattle came into the emergency room with fever and purulent urethral discharge. He tells the admitting nurse that he had an intense pain between his legs, and all of this came a few days after meeting and intimately interacting with a woman, different from the woman who he lived with and normally interacted with. Physical exam found a chancre at what was a point of contact that the man had with the woman, and a blood test determined that he had acquired primary syphilis from that interaction. But not only that, he also had acute HIV. An antibiotic was given. It's a single injection, big needle, right in the cheeks. A second antibiotic was given to be taken for 6 days after discharge, and they told him, you need to come back in a couple of months to see us. We just want to make sure that the antibiotics worked. But he never showed up to that appointment. 18 months later, the man came back to the emergency room with horrible stomach pain, hair loss, a shooting pain up his leg, and near total vision loss. When they looked, they found that syphilis had spread to his eyes. They sent a camera down his throat to look at his stomach, and they found multiple ulcers. They took samples and found out those ulcers were caused by syphilis. They also took samples from his colon and found syphilis there too. We're able to sequence whole genomes now, and syphilis is caused by a bacteria named Treponema pallidum. We have the whole genome of specific syphilis strains. When the Treponema genome from this man's ulcers were sequenced, doctors found that there were 2 distinct strains of Treponema present, meaning that he may have been infected more than once at the same time. But even worse, both strains' DNA featured mutations not yet observed, meaning that the bacteria had undergone intra-host evolution, and this led to the most unique finding. Some specific genes were discovered that were a combination of both strains together. You can't get these specific genes without putting these 2 strains together, meaning that both bacterial strains had gathered together and we're creating a brand new strain of syphilis through genetic recombination. It's not to say this hasn't happened before, but it's the first time that it's been documented. We don't know yet exactly what this means for syphilis. It could make a stronger, more antibiotic-resistant version. It could make one with more severe symptoms that we've never seen before, but it could also make just an entirely different version. But infection rates have been increasing year over year for almost a generation now, and while new strains are always evolving, we've now directly observed one mechanism whereby it's changing in a way that we've never seen before.
Yeah, and one thing I like to say, man, is that with the whole syphilis thing, man, like all this has happened is because of the fucking adultery, man. That constantly happens, right? Now, I know it says in this video that he slept with another woman aside from his wife. That's not adultery though. However, if the woman he slept with already had a man, that is adultery though. But in many cases, though these women that you meet, though they've been hopping like from man to man, and that's why you brothers, when you go see women out there, you gotta be careful, man. You always gotta wrap it up, wear protection, man. And just be like Paul, man, and just not deal with these women, man, just wait for the kingdom, So it's not too far, but but either way, man, you brothers stay safe, man, because the Lord is playing all these people, man, for for all their wickedness, man. That's why Yahweh Shai said. Yeah, this is why Yahushua said in the book of James, chapter 4, verse 4, it says here, ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of this world is enmity with God, enmity with Yahweh? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is enemy with God, right, man. And that goes to show you, man, that the Most High, Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushai hates this world because why it's full of wickedness, man. Like like adultery, fornication, man. Idolatry. And you see the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, playing the fuck out of these people, man. And let's go back. Let's go back. This man right here. Yeah. This man right here, who I assume is an Edomite or whatever, man. He decides to go swimming, with an open cut with a bunch of pigs, man. And he didn't think that he would get anything from that, man. But that goes to show you, man. That these devils, man, these Edomites, man, they don't have any wisdom, right? All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 7. And for nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines, as pestilence, and earthquakes, in diverse places. Right. So so you could be out there, on vacation or and you have a tiny scratch, and then you jump in the lake or you eat something or whatever, and then you could just get like violently ill or sick, man. And that's the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, plaguing your ass for all the sins that you've committed. Why? Because we are in the time of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai's judgment, man. So So, your brothers, few sisters, stay prayed up. If you decide to go travel, man. And well, it's 20. Well, if you can travel. Oh, but a lot of brothers would recommend not to. But if you do, stay prayed up, man. Stay safe, man. Because we are in the midst of Jacob's trouble, man. And things are getting ready to amplify, right? Right, and one last video I want to show. This is from 13. I might get a copyright strike from this, but fuck it, I'm just gonna play it anyways. And just to be safe, yes, the copyright disclaimer is right here. I'm flashed on the screen. We've already read it in the beginning of the video. Fair use, fair use, fair use. All right, so we're gonna play this video.
It has been a cold and snowy winter across West Michigan, but does that mean the tick population has died off as we approach spring? Meteorologist Colton Woods asked a biology professor at Calvin University and is here now with the answer. Colton.
Juliet, while some ticks do die in the harsh winter conditions, you might be surprised that even after a brutal winter like this one, many ticks stay alive into the springtime. They're called overwintering ticks. They actually go dormant to save energy and become resistant to external temperatures. Studies have shown that winter temperatures by themselves, even below zero, do not necessarily have strong effects one way or another because ticks have evolved to the climate of Michigan. There are many different factors that impact tick population, such as mice and deer numbers and rainfall during other parts of the year. Winter temperatures are just one piece of the big puzzle. In fact, a deep snowpack can actually protect the ticks from extreme cold.
If you think about what snow actually does, is it provides an insulating blanket to the ground that's underneath it. So if you've got significant snow cover, like we have had during the entirety of this cold snap, that actually could potentially insulate the critters that are living underneath it, including ticks.
The ticks associated with Lyme disease also are not impacted by cold winter temperatures. It is likely this cold stretch will not significantly lower the number of ticks in the summer. Dr. Miller says it is best to assume ticks will be out there and take necessary precautions to protect yourself as temperatures warm up. Juliet?
Alright, this is the book of 2 Esdras, chapter 15, verse 49. I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, and to waste thy house, and with destruction and death, right? Right, and that's what's happening, man. The Lord, man. He could like send these plagues, right? Like those ticks, man. Those random ticks. They could like get in your house, give you Lyme disease, right? And this cold snap, right? Despite being cold, man, as they said, man, although these animals are underground, and have some sort of insulation, man, like it's so cold to the point where I've people have told me that they even taking like flamethrowers, man, to try and melt the snow, and the snow's not even melting, man. You actually need like a bulldozer or something, man. Just to get just to get all this this snow and ice out of the way, man, because basically, man, like the cold you see outside there, that's solid freaking ice, man. That's how cold it is, man. And even in this weather, man, and that shows the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. That these creatures, man, can survive in harsh conditions, man. And come time spring and summertime, man. When shit pops off, man. People are gonna be like. People might get kicked out of their homes, man. People might need to survive outside, and when these ticks, man, or these insects, man, come jump around and bite you, man. They'll give you diseases like Lyme disease, man, or something, and people could like fall, and you could like fall ill and die from all that, basically, right? But that's why, man, that's why we need protection from Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. No matter where, no matter where we're at, whether or not we're in Babylon or not, because the Lord can easily send something, right, to take you out, man. Judge you, man, right. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 1. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, my power, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver me from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence, right? Right, so the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man, if you're sincere, your brothers, your few sisters, you call on the name, right? You stay prayed up, you stay repentance, man. Lord willing, man. The Lord's gonna help us during these times, right? And I'm speaking to the hopeful elect out here, right? He shall cover thee with feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust, and His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. That thou shalt not be afraid by the terror by night, nor the arrow that flieth by day, right? Right, and ultimately that arrow is gonna be that ultimate plague, right? That ICBM nuclear missile, man. After that MOTB gets rolled out, right? But the elect, man, they're not gonna take the mark of the beast. They're not gonna take the microchip of the Karagma, man. The Lord's gonna protect them. If we be of those men. For no, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall by thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh unto thee, man. And that's Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. Ultimately protecting His elect, right? Right. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, right? And that reward, right, is ultimately going to be destruction, man. Of our number one enemy, Esau, Edom, right? These other nations, and of course, we're gonna see 2/3 die on this side as well, right? But that's why Akim and Akwath, man, we gotta be circumspect, right? We gotta keep our mind right, right? Because we are in the time of judgment, right? They ain't no more time for like. They ain't really room for for folly or anything like that, man. And because right now, man, and the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is on the move, man, and you can see that these spirits are active on these people, right? Right, so. Right, so brother, Akim, Akwath, right, stay prayed up. Keep the faith, man. And may Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, right? Protect your household, right? So with that, I like to end off the lesson right there. Hope this lesson's been edifying. Your sincere Akim and Akwath, and with that, I like to say, Kal Halayim La, Abanawa, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Ruka Kadash. Double honors and respect to our apostles and elders, great millstone, who rule and taught us His truth. I would also like to say much love, peace, and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful elect in 1/3. This is your brother Salah, and with that, I'd like to say shalom. Until next time.